Hello, techies, and good day. This is Fred with Tech Talk, and we are coming at you today with an exciting video on this bvtech 24-port PoE Plus switch. Okay, this is a two-layer switch with long-distance, high-power capabilities. Okay, it is managed via a browser interface, and in that interface, you can actually control each port as far as throughput, distance, and power consumption. The first two ports, 1 and 2, are high-powered 60-watt ports. These are for high-consumption PoE devices such as PTZ cameras with heaters and blowers, okay? They need a little more fuel to work, so we'll want to use them in those two ports. The other 22 ports are your standard 30-watt ports. Those will work with your standard IP camera, IP phone, devices such as that. We obviously have the 2 gigabit Ethernet uplink ports. We also have 2 SFP gigabit ports for fiber and our console port. Okay, console port. We will cover in this video how to log into the web interface and how to use those controls. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, kids, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Before we do, you know the drill. Please subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. There is a subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Also, like this video if the content is useful to you, and as always, leave comments. A lot of this content is based off of subscriber comments. So yes, this is a neat switch. In the box, it comes with a standard power cord. Obviously, that would plug into your port here. The back has a cooling fan and the on-off switch. Okay. You also have a grounding loop for it. On the front, we already covered most of the details on the front. There is a reset button that you can push to reset the device in the event you need to do that. Also comes with rack mount. So if you are going to mount this on your IT rack, you will need this mounting hardware, and that comes with it as well. Okay, what I'd like to do is get this connected. I'm going to plug it in and plug it into our firewall and go over the interface with you here in a second. All right, kids, so we have located the switch on our network. As you can see, the IP address on the LAN is 192.168.0.51. The way we find that is by using a IP scanning tool. I prefer advanced IP scanner. As you can see, you can hit scan and it will pick up any device that is networked on your LAN. Okay, and there's a link for this particular tool in the description of our video. Okay, so you can download this tool if you need to. But in any event, on the box to the switch, you will find your MAC address, and you are searching for that. You're not searching by IP address, you're searching by MAC address. And in turn, that will give you the IP address of the switch on your network. And we pull that up on a browser, and sure enough, it's prompting us to create a password. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just like so. And once that's entered, it's going to prompt you to log in with that password we just created. And there we are, friends. The first thing you'll see when you log in is a status graph, okay? And it's going to show you by the color blue which ports are active, okay? We have an uplink port, which is port 25 active. That's what's plugged into our firewall. And it will show you right here, port 25 is up. Again, as indicated by the blue. It also can detect that this is a copper input, not fiber, okay? Fiber would be port 26 here. Okay, the next thing we can do is check port 23. We have an IP phone plugged into that PoE port, and you can see that is also up, okay? Very good. So once you have checked that, we can go into really the meat and potatoes of the tutorial, which is the system info, right? This is where we configure everything. And once we're in here, we can make our adjustments in the machine. The first thing we want to do is adjust the time. And it looks like the time is correct. It's 11:14 at 08:56. And that matches the timestamp on our desktop. You'll note I took my picture off of the screen so you guys can get the full effect. If this did not match, you simply hit sync with PC and it would make the time of the PoE switch reflect that of your desktop or laptop. Network connection is pretty simple. This again is a 2-layer switch, so it does not have routing capabilities. It passes through packets by MAC address, not by IP address. So we'll leave that click DHCP. If this were a 3-layer switch, which does have routing capabilities, we could click static here and input the IP address from our internet service provider, such as Comcast or Verizon or whatnot. But seeing this is a 2-layer switch and does not have routing capabilities, we're going to leave it on DHCP. And not to get into a technology class, but that's the difference, folks, between a 2-layer switch and a 3-layer switch. A 2-layer switch passes packets through by MAC address, whereas a 3-layer switch has routing capabilities. It's a routing switch, right? So we'll leave this at DHCP. And we'll go to software update. This would be the equivalent of a firmware upgrade for a NVR, DVR, or IP camera. You can actually go to PoEdepot.com and register for an account with them under the login tab. And what this will do, it will allow you to get updates on your switch from them when they're available. You would save that update to your desktop or to your downloads file, pick it up with the browse here, and then you could update your machine. This is a brand new machine. There's no need to do that right now. But password change, that is where you would change the administrative password we just created. There is a factory default reset button, which would restore your machine to factory settings the way it came out of the box. There's a system reboot button. This is obviously to reboot the switch. If you are tech savvy and know how to port forward, there is a video link above. But if you port forward your modem or router to this IP address through port 80, you can actually log into the machine using your dynamic or static IP address and reboot it remotely. That would be if your spouse or child calls and says, you know, the internet is slow, can you reboot it? Sure, you can reboot the switch, okay? Login information. Again, this is a new switch, so there's not a lot of activity here, but you can hit search, and this will show you anytime that the switch was logged into remotely. This interface was used, right? Port management really is where the cool features of this feature pack switch are. Port configuration, right? We can name the individual port. We mentioned earlier that there is a IP phone plugged into port 23. So I could name that IP phone. And we also know that 25 is our uplink. So we could put uplink from firewall, right? And this is useful if a device goes down or something's not working. If it's a printer or IP phone, you could pull this up and say, well, it's getting communication from the switch. You can also, if ports are not being used and you don't want them to be used, you can turn them off, right? That will shut that port off. As far as duplex settings, for speed, you can change to full or half at both 10 Mbps and 100. So that's kind of cool. Port statistics, that will just show RX, TX packets. Again, we're using minimal internet right now. You see TX is at 7, RX is at 16 for the input. The phone is TXing but no RX. So that just kind of monitors throughput. Speed port limit is another cool feature. This would be for bandwidth or throughput controls. You can actually limit the Mbps that each switch is capable of processing. So if you have a small business, say you have 10 computers, but cost effectively you can only get 50 Mbps from your internet service provider, you wouldn't want all 24 of these ports to have unlimited throughput, right? Because each port can process 100 Mbps, and that's more than you have from the internet service provider. So theoretically, one computer could hog all of your bandwidth. This basically prevents that from happening, okay? If it's just a basic data entry computer, and folks are not going to be using Zoom or video capabilities, you could put that port at 2 or 3 Mbps. But say you come down to port 3, and this is the general manager's office, okay? And they are going to be doing some Zoom calls and video calls and stuff like that. They're going to be uploading and downloading media, so they need more bandwidth. You could certainly give them more. You could leave them unlimited, or give them more, because that's priority, right? So that's how you limit throughput through this machine. We could hit save when we're done. Long distance PoE. This is a cool feature if you install technology. In the past, with standard PoE, you could put a PoE device such as an IP camera or an IP phone up to 100 meters or 300 feet away from a PoE switch. If you were 400, 500, 600 feet away, the device wouldn't work with standard PoE. But PoE has evolved like everything else, and now we have long distance PoE. And what that allows us to do is identify a particular port. Say on port 4, we have a IP camera that is 750, 800 feet away from the switch. If we leave the switch in regular mode, it's probably not going to work with that IP camera. But if we switch this to long distance PoE, this is going to give more power and distance to that port. And it will work at those distances. There is a trade-off, though. As you see at 100 meters, which is normal distance up to 100 meters for a PoE switch, you're going to be getting the full 100 Mbps, which a camera obviously doesn't need. But as you go 250 meters in distance, the trade-off is your speed goes down to 10 Mbps. Again, 10 Mbps is plenty for a normal camera. Even if you're using a 4K camera, streaming at 20 frames per second, you're going to be at 5 or 6 Mbps, okay? So you're not going to touch that 10. So we're fine with that. But that's how you enable the long distance PoE through that, okay? So this is a very cool switch. When you're done, you can log out, of course, by hitting the log out button. This concludes the tutorial. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully the content was useful to you. If it was, please like our video. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and we'll see you in the field.